All right. Hey, this is Eric from Team AirStack at Lenovo, and I'm excited to welcome Alex Glenn today to our Tech Stack Chats video interview series with executives where we talk all things tech stacks. And today we're going to be talking about Alex's work with Automated, and I'm really excited to have you, Alex. Thanks for joining from Chicago.
Thanks a lot, Eric. And thanks for having me. I'm a geek about this stuff, so I love talking about marketing automation. I just have to explain the tree. My daughter put this lighting situation around my little money tree because it's Christmas. So I like to have it here. It's kind of a fun little prop. But yeah, so automated.af is the site. We are essentially right now an MVP version of what will become kind of a formalized basically what I would have loved to have when I was going through these pain points as a VP of marketing in various startups and also as an agency. The pain points when you get together with your team to build out your marketing stack. For us, I experienced the same pain points around formalizing the complete system. So the holistic automation system that includes multiple components. It's easy enough to say, what is the best CRM for a B2B company and blah, blah, blah space. And you can find a lot of content around that, or what is the best marketing automation tool, or what is the best chat tool, et cetera. But it's hard to come up with a holistic system that all works really well together, and tools don't play nice. So there's API issues, et cetera. So very, very difficult to come up with a holistic system. Secondly, when you have the system decided on, you've signed those contracts, you've set up whatever CRM, whatever marketing automation tool, then you got to go and connect those systems so that things like pipeline stages are mirrored between your marketing automation system and your CRM. And some of these systems play nice. There's native integrations, especially if you use some of the upstream tools like Salesforce, et cetera. There are really close-knit native integrations that allow you to run these automations smoothly, but a lot of startups in SMB spaces, Salesforce is not the right partner for them, or they simply can't afford Salesforce at that moment. So what do? And there are plenty of other options, but again, you run into those API integration issues between your automation system and your CRM, your chat system and your automation system, and vice versa. And then again, also, if you would like to kind of button up your tool to this automation system, meaning event attribution analytics that need to fire certain emails and messages, and those need to change statuses in your CRM, it becomes a convoluted mess. And one of the very, very big issues I had in each of these builds is deciding how to integrate the systems, what third-party API integrators to use, what to build natively ourselves, and how much bandwidth to take from dev to put this tool and that tool together. And then you have to keep those updated. So the API integrations was the second thing that was really a big problem. And then thirdly, what are the best practices? How do you actually use these systems in a real world scenario? So now that you have your system, you've got it connected, it's working. What do? What are the journeys that you need to put in place? What are the automations you need to fire? There's internal automations, there's customer success automations. We're not just talking about messaging. We're not just talking about email. We're not just talking about outbound. We're talking about the full customer experience. And that's what automation really is. It's not just on the front end, but once they become a customer, there's all sorts of invoicing automations. And that was a convoluted mess as well. It's really tough to not only decide what to do and actually, what works for your business practice, but then again, how do you build that out? So to get back to your question, Eric, what I aim to create, it's maybe a little grandiose vision, but I would like to create the place where founders and teams can go to start with the end result and then back into how to implement that end result. So if they come to Automated and they see, oh, here's, Lessonly's automation around this. And then, oh, by the way, here's a link to Lessonly's tech stack. Oh, no, by the way, there's a couple experts that specialize in this autopilot plus PFL automation. Right. And they can get the full kind of picture of how it works. Then they can back in and actually connect with somebody that can set the system up for them, all in a marketplace sort of format.
Yeah.
So we have a bunch of things going on the site, but it will start to become more organized, and we'll build out more content around showcasing real world automations, and then also allowing users to grab those automations in an e-commerce style format.
Yeah. So that's, I love the vision. Everybody's talking about their stacks, and automation and integrations and data flows, and CX are just such a huge part of that. I mean, you said it best when you said customer experience, because every stack essentially today is just part of a broader CX stack, right? So I know that you were going to share an example of the type of work that you're doing, and you were going to share in part of your one piece of your stack, which is real-time board. You were going to share a deeper look at how you approach automation stories.
Yeah, let me see if I can share my screen here. So yeah, we were talking before we started, and just some work that we do. So we do offer some level of actual, managed services and consultative approaches. So we do work with select clients on creating and building out these stacks and helping them facilitate and navigate this whole jungle of marketing and sales automation. So I use real-time board. So this is just a collection of different flows and different processes that I've put together over the past couple of months with specific companies. So we've kind of stripped out the things that are specific to those companies, and then we have our own real-time board here, which I can share with anybody. And there's links to content around these different flows on automated.af on the blog, so you can go check that out. And you mentioned you liked this one. This one is a tech stack that's for Gmail or G Suite users. So we created this one as our quote unquote recommended tech stack for any SMB company that is using G Suite to power their email and also their internal organization. So if you use Google Apps, et cetera, right? There's a lot going on with Gmail in particular right now, and Google Apps if you use the business version of Gmail. And that's around their API as well as their UI, their user interface changes that have broken some CRM. So back to the tech stack, back to the sales stack, and how that impacts your business. If you were running, for example, Salesforce IQ inside of Gmail, that is no longer supported. So your sales team, where that works in practice, if you haven't crossed this bridge yet, is if you are basically updating leads inside of Gmail using the sidebar that's provided by Salesforce IQ or some other CRMs. A lot of those have broken. And Gmail has supported a few, and also those CRMs have decided to update their Chrome extension to correlate and to continue operating with this new UI push that Gmail or Google actually pushed out, I believe, mid-November. Copper is one of those. So in this situation, Copper is the hub. It's a CRM. It is Google's actual internal CRM. So the G Suite team and other departments inside Google use it as their CRM. And there are unpublished benefits to using what Google uses, especially around cold prospecting. If you do a lot of cold emailing and you run those through Gmail, there's unpublished benefits that you can't quote me on, but I believe using Gmail's preferred SaaS partners is what they call it. There's a list of 42 of those to power your stack is beneficial. So if you're a B2B company that uses G Suite and use cold outreach, this is a perfect stack for you. It includes some data sources here like LinkedIn and data enrichment, and maybe you have Facebook lead ads going on. We have little API icons here because the API aspect of this build is up to the situation, is really dependent on where you're at and whether or not you have greater needs for API or just simple needs. So you could go with LeadsBridge, you could go with Zapier, You could go with a white label solution if you need more API integrations like Blender, Integrate, etc. Tray, any of those. But anyways, API is irrelevant, and you push those into a Google Sheet. The reason you use Google Sheets is it's sort of like a repository that exists outside of your actual repository. So you don't want to share, for example, CRM access with virtual assistants, right? And you don't want to pay for all these, copper logins for people that maybe just providing data cleansing services or data enrichment services. So use Google Sheets as kind of like a repository. And then you push leads from Google Sheets into, this is Orca, useorca.com. And useorca.com is your LinkedIn automation tool. It allows you to serve cold messaging requests. So data comes in, then cold messages go out in Orca. And then depending on how they interact with that cold message, they may enter Copper as a lead, maybe not. And once they get warmed up into a lead, they go into Copper. You have User Engage right here. So this could be replaced by Intercom or any chat tool. I like User Engage or user.com. They just rebranded. But those are web chats. So those are warm leads, MQLs, whatever you want to call them, that come into Copper. And then you have some cold marketing automation and some warm marketing automation that goes out from Copper. And again, I like using User Engage because User Engage also has marketing automation, kind of like Autopilot and Intercom put together. And then Persist IQ is your cold outreach. It's kind of like simpler version of Outreach.io. It's a cold email platform. It allows you to do triggered internal notifications. It's a two-way sync with Copper. Cold emailing is obviously the name of the game. So as people flow through Persist, they either reply, they don't reply, they opt out, they have a positive reply. All of those interactions happen, and then they come back through Copper with an updated stage, an updated status, etc. Same thing with User Engage. User Engage sends out the triggered emails, also triggered pipeline updates, triggered chats, and all sorts of automated workflows from User Engage or user.com. And those go back out and could potentially update statuses, pipeline stages, etc. in Copper. So that's one. And here are the tools that are included. To run this automation, you would just need LinkedIn, Facebook. Yes, it could be any social or media, any ad platform. Google Sheets is your repository. You've got Orca for your LinkedIn outreach. Copper is your CRM. Persist IQ is your cold emailing and your sales engagement or sales enablement platform. User.com, formerly User Engage, is your chat tool as well as your marketing automation system. Your messaging marketing automation system. And then some API integrator. I like Blender, but there's obviously Zapier and Tray and the others.
No, this is fantastic, Alex. We're actually going through this process of trying to design our own ecosystem for the launch of AirStack right now. So a lot of cool ideas in here. I'd never heard of Orca before, but I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on. We can have a whole nother discussion about LinkedIn and the changes that are going on LinkedIn. But
tell me, what advice would you have for, companies that are trying to grow their business and scale with tech, especially if they're just getting off the ground?
Advice, yeah. So I would say the best advice that I can give is to not assume there are cut and dry methods for anything. Not assume there is a best path or one path to take. And the best way to highlight this is in the actual API integration side of the business. So we're talking specifically to technology startups, to apps, right? To SaaS companies. When you get to that point in your development where you start to think about and consider your integrations page, for example, right? So aside from the API integrations that you need to connect the apps that you use in your marketing automation system, there's the whole other side of API integrations that's really connecting your app to the ecosystem, the apps that you believe your users use on a day-to-day basis. So your ICP may use these apps. You have your kind of customer persona and you say, all right, well, we're going to go after these guys and girls with this app. And we believe that they use this CRM, and we believe they use, this data tool, and we believe they use this chat tool. And you start to prioritize the list of integrations that you believe you need to build out in order to satisfy that ICP's use case, right? So most founders, whether they're technology-focused founders, sales-focused founders, or marketing-focused founders, in my experience, 90% of them will go about this the same way. They'll essentially have their ICP persona, whatever you want to call it, in place. They'll have a list of the apps that they believe that persona uses, and then they'll have their app, and they'll say, okay, well, we need to build out native integrations to these. And then they'll prioritize them based on how big of a use case they have for that one, difficulty, bandwidth, whatever. And then they'll also put together kind of the timeline for those integrations and that's based on bandwidth and based on what their head of product or their lead engineer says they can do. So they'll say, okay, well, January we'll build out Salesforce integration. And then February we'll build out intercom integration, and then so on and so forth, right? Now that's typically what I see. Now there are a couple players that are coming into the spotlight now and releasing their post-beta, their alpha product. And these are white label API integrators. And we published a integrators review of, you can find it on the site. If you go to automated.af in the header, there's the API integrators review. And what this is essentially showcasing all of the options that you have as a founder as well as a marketer to connect to apps, whether it's yours connected to the outside world or connecting CRM to marketing automation, or connecting to tools that you use. So whether you're a citizen integrator and you want to connect these apps, or you're a founder and you want to connect your apps to the outside world, here are the options, right? And this is where it gets a little bit, a little bit new to most people, or really new to most people, is most people think about this like, oh yeah, you mean Zapier. I build out my Zapier app, and all of a sudden I'm connected to Zapier's entire ecosystem of API integrations. And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about truly white labeling the API integrations. Imagine if instead of building out a Zapier app, you could have all of Zapier's UI inside of your app, meaning you go to the integrations page and you just start your users as a user, go to your integrations page, and you just start connecting apps. That's the world that we're about to live in, where as a founder, instead of prioritizing 10 integrations that you want to have natively on your integrations page and spending a year building those out, spending countless dollars in development and countless hours learning these APIs, so your developers have to learn every single API as they build them out. We're talking about a world where you just go to one of these partners and you say, all right, here's our app, and we want that plan, and here's some logins so you can get in our back end and go ahead and to add the integrations page, and here's our contact for our head of products. You guys work things out, and the next day or the next couple of days, you have integrations with hundreds of apps out there. And not only that, the user doesn't have to go off to one of these third-party sites to connect your app to whatever apps they use. They do it all in your UI, so the experience is as if they are still in your app. It's truly white label. So what that does is free up countless hours of bandwidth, obviously money. And from a growth and a marketing perspective, as a founder, you can now market native integrations with all of these third-party tools. So
wow,
it's definitely a new world we're living in terms of APIs. And if you're following the growth of SaaS, it's almost doubled in the past year as far as the amount of products that are coming to market. So there's a new SaaS product every couple minutes coming out onto the market. And as these double, that means the APIs double. And as the APIs double, then instead of users only using, these APIs over here, users, the usage of different APIs, if it were graphed out, it's going to sort of balance out to where, there's still, most people are going to be using the typical, but you're going to have more long tail use cases, and it's going to be impossible for founders to satisfy all of those ICPs. So now you just go to one of these third parties and you say, hey, here's our app and here's what we do. Go ahead and give us some pricing, and you come up with a plan, and you plan on paying, like leasing a car, you plan on paying $500 a month or whatever it is, but the benefits are just astronomical in my opinion.
Yeah. So are there a couple players in that space, the white labeling automation, that we should be looking at?
Yeah. I think Blender is really great. BLENDR.io. They're doing some things that are pretty awesome over there. Tray.io doesn't market their white label solutions, but they do have them, and you can talk to sales about that. Kind of on the more pricey side, Tray, they're a San Francisco-based company that's heavily funded, so you will pay a little bit higher of a margin. Blender is still, they're still relatively unknown, and they're very lean, so you can get a better deal. And then there's a new player that's coming out of beta soon called Integri. It's INTEGRY.io. And I just recorded podcast episodes with the founders of Blender and Integri. Those two are going to definitely make some waves and come out with some really cool stuff over the next couple of years. So excited for that.
Yeah. What's the name of your podcast? Is it on the website, on Automated's website?
The marketing automation discussion. So if you just search iTunes or Spotify or Google Play or wherever for the marketing automation discussion.
Cool.
That's the podcast.
Right on. So other than this white label integration story, are there any other big trends in the SaaS world or tech world that you think is going to impact this customer experience stack?
Automation as a trend, it's kind of a little bit broad and a little bit vague, but I didn't decide to get into this business and go all in on this business just because it was a passion project. I did think about it a little bit, and I did notice some trends, but not only is it becoming convoluted, and there does need to be a solution like what we're hopefully providing, but automation is becoming, I believe people will start to see it for what it actually is over the coming months and over the coming years, where you don't see automation, and this stems across all industries, not just marketing and sales automation, but any automation, automating any human, what historically was a human-based function. We are doing automation not to do more. We're doing automation to do more, but better. We are taking the human component out of it because humans sleep at night. Humans have memory issues.
Pesky humans.
We're making our customer experience better. And it's not a situation where marketers that are not trained up on automation need to run and hide and be against it and try to, keep a hold on those processes. Everybody needs to embrace it, because at the end of the day, if you make your customer experience better, you're going to have more referrals, you're going to have more customers, you're going to be able to scale faster, which means there's going to be more money, which means there's going to be more jobs, which means everybody's going to do better because of it and have a better result because of it. So no matter what side of the business you are on, I think everybody needs to get behind automation. From soup to nuts, from customer acquisition all the way through to billing and accounting. Automate anything that you can. and really focus on the user journey, and not just automate it to automate it, but really focus on the user journey. And I think that's a trend that people are starting to come around to. I'm getting more calls where people are like, not so much, hey, can you, automate my email marketing and allow me to send 5,000 emails a day instead of 500. I'm getting less of those and more of, hey, Alex, I know my customer experience is breaking at this part of the funnel. Can we map out the user journey and show me what automations I can trigger during this middle of the funnel so that I know that customer is being approached in the right way with the right messaging on the right medium in order to make sure their experience is better. And that to me is like, when people start asking about those things, I definitely notice a very good trend around automation, changing automation from front end only to really full stack and full funnel.
Yeah, it's almost like you're describing a near future where someone wants to launch and grow a technology business. They go to automated and they just cherry pick what's their automation and CX stack. They buy it off the shelf. They hire someone like you or another to go ahead and implement it. They turn it on. They pump it full of leads, and then money comes out, and they don't have to really hire anybody else. It's just them and their idea, and the developers that built it, and then it's just a cash machine if you have product market fit.
I mean, yeah, I want that to be the end result. I wish we had that today. And that's you bring about a good point. Is a situation where, although every SaaS company is unique, and you do have to consider the nuances there.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you can. I mean, once you consider your use case and your budget, 9 times out of 10, there's a company that is 6 months or 6 years ahead of where you're at, and have spent a ton of money and a ton of time going through the changes that you're about to go through, and to look ahead and to say, hey, that company is making money, and that company is growing fast. That company is what I would love to be in 6 years, and just saying, what are they doing on the marketing automation side? Mm-hmm. And that's where I record the podcast, and I ask them, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And the great founders will definitely share it with me, and they'll even share their tech stack with me. And then I can go ahead and publish that on the marketplace, and then find an expert who's proficient in building out that automation, throw them up on the marketplace as well, and hopefully have the productized marketing automation for you to go ahead and grab and implement in your business.
Yeah, that peer-to-peer conversation and exposing this is, I've seen it over and over again. This is why people go to these big events where everybody stands on stage and talks about their tech stack, because there's so many options. Like you say, the doubling of the SaaS market every year. I don't think anybody has an accurate number anywhere close of how many SaaS offerings there are, but with so many options and how critical it is and how much time it takes to make decisions, it's only in this sort of peer-to-peer and intelligence behind that of, here's, based on who you are, here's what your stack should be, and here's people that can help you implement it. And congrats on, being successful now. It really requires both that human layer and also the intelligent recommendations and things like that.
Yeah, and a major issue that founders will find when they go through this process is, if you go to an agency or a consulting company, an actual established company, not just a contractor, but you go to that company, they've built their company by specializing. They will only know these builds, right? So it's almost always Salesforce, HubSpot, Marketo, where the money is, right? That's why they've been able to build the company. So there, it's not to say there aren't things like this in existence. There's a company like Torchlight.com. You can go there, and if you would like Salesforce Marketing Cloud, they will match you with an expert to help you build out your funnel. But what these companies will not do is tell you what they recommend your end-all be-all processes should look like. They will tell you what your stack should look like, and they'll charge you a ton of money to build that out.
Yeah.
But what very few platforms, resources, it's really hard to do is find what the end all be all use cases should look like and back into the best stack to accomplish that use case.
Right.
That's the tough part.
Yeah. Well, Alex, we're coming up on time, but I always like to ask one surprise question at the end of every Tech Stack chat.
Love it.
And that surprise question is, in 5 words, how would you describe your tech stack?
I'd say my tech stack is simple. The beauty of my business is simplicity right now. It's going to get obviously larger as we grow, but as of right now, I have found a solution that covers 90% of my automated needs, and it's an all-in-one solution called user.com. I love it, and it does every single thing I needed to do except for cold outreach. So every automation that you get when you come to automated.af, if you receive an email, if you receive a chat deploy, if you receive a custom experience, it's all deployed via user.com, and they're also my CRM because I don't need a lot on the CRM side of things. I'm not selling. It's all kind of inbound, and we select a few people to work with. So I don't need a robust CRM. I don't need a robust marketing automation system. So my automation system is very simple, and it works for us. And that's not to say you should go out and copy us, but I definitely recommend checking out the tools that we've mentioned on the show. They're some of the ones that I've worked with, and I'm very familiar with and enjoy working with. But there's thousands out there, so let's talk.
Awesome. Well, I'll let you get away with the 1-word tech stack description today with simple. And I hope that things continue to go well for Automated, and you're keeping the city of Chicago safe and building modern tech stacks.
I love it, Eric. All right, buddy. Well,
Have
thanks a lot
day.
for the time, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.